you got to make sure that your mind is 100% ready for the game of business. Rejection and failure, your new best friend. Don't let the day end without the next one being planned. Don't be a victim business owner. In the game of business, things are moving so fast, so quick. Hey everyone, welcome to Courtside Conversations. My name's Emile, founder and owner of Little Boomers Basketball, and it's a pleasure to be your host today. Wherever you're watching today's episode, I hope you're having a booming day, and yes, the pun is intended. My journey to entrepreneurship started on May 1st, 2018 when I launched my first basketball program with 9 kids enrolled. Today, thousands of kids across Australia are thriving in our programs, all thanks to the commitment and passion of our incredible franchisees. This podcast is here to give you real, straightforward, no BS insights into business, entrepreneurship, and what it's like to own a franchise. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Welcome everybody back to Courtside Conversation. It's a pleasure to be your host today. I hope you're having an awesome and a spectacular day. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the mindset shift you need to make from going from an employee to an owner, whether that's the owner of a franchise company, the owner of your own business. There's a massive mindset shift that you need to make from an employee to a business owner. We're going to cover it in today's episode. Enjoy. Okay, so recently, my brother Gerard, who started off with me as a coach back at 2018, he was actually my first coach at Little Boomers Basketball. 5 years later, he's now become a franchise owner and a business owner with Little Boomers Basketball. I made that same shift in 2018. So he started as an employee and he is now a franchise owner with us. A lot of people really underestimate the mindset shift that you need to make from an employee to business owner. When I say to you, it is a completely different ball game. It is a completely different ball game. Like Michael Jordan going from the NBA to baseball, it's a whole different playing field, a whole different skill set. And it's important that if you're looking at going from an employee to an owner, or even if you're already an owner, you got to make sure that your mind is 100% ready for the game of business. And I'll give you a great quote that I heard from Tony Robbins the other day. Business is 80% psychology and mental, 20% strategy. And that is 100% true. Because if we've got the best strategy for you, like let's say, for example, we say to you, you need to invest, minimum $3,000 marketing per month on SEO, on Facebook ads, but you've got the mental belief that marketing doesn't work and marketing's a waste of money. It doesn't matter how sound or how logical my strategy is. If your mental blueprint is off, there is no strategy that will help you. So business really is 80% psychology and 20% strategy. So let's talk about the psychology component today and the mental framework that you need to adopt as a business owner. The first thing I want you to do, guys, if you are and have become a business owner, is I want you to go to the hard drive store, go to your local computer store and buy a 1 terabyte hard drive for your brain and plug it into your brain, because you're going to need a ton load of mental energy if you have now become a mental owner. You need so much more space up here, because when you go from employee to business owner, your brain does not switch off. It is always thinking about business 24/7, 365 days a year. And I witnessed this myself when I went from an employee to business owner back in 2018. I was working at my local PCYC coaching kids, for somebody else. I was getting an hourly rate. I did 4 or 5 hours a day, clocked in, clocked out. Did I care whether there was 5 kids in the class, 10 kids or 20 kids? No, I didn't. I got paid my same hourly rate regardless. So when I got home after 5, do you think I was thinking about, geez, numbers are low today. What am I going to do? How are we going to pump it up? No, I went home. I enjoyed my day, had a coffee, whatever, tea, came back to the next day. I really didn't care. But as a business owner now, these are the things I need to be thinking about. Registrations are low, enrollments are low. How can I increase classes? I've got this parent unhappy. All of a sudden now, you're thinking past 5 p.m. So don't think now that you're a business owner, that 5 p.m. time window applies to you. You are thinking about business 24/7 because it's all on you. That's why I said to go get a 1 terabyte hard drive. Your mind is going to be all on you now. All of a sudden now, if there is only 5 kids in that class and you're paying that coach and your court hire fees and your royalty fee and you're a little bit in the negative all of a sudden now, okay, shoot, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to do X, Y, Z. So your brain is automatically going to go into that thinking mode. So that's the first thing I want you to gear up for, is to get a terabyte. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to make rejection and failure your new best friend. When you are starting a business or a franchise, you will be rejected so many times. You will have ideas that you thought were golden ideas go to shit. It's just part of business, guys. For every 9 rejection and failures, you hit 1 out of the park. And you need to be mentally prepared for that. If you're very thin-skinned and you experience 1 rejection and you go to recluse and it hits you for a couple of days and you're not yourself, guys, you're going to get shattered in business. And I learned this in my first experience in running a business. I'll give you a great example. When I came out of high school and I was coaching and I was getting really good at coaching, I said, you know what? I'm going to start a course, an online course that teaches people how to coach sports, and it's going to be a multi-sport course. I'm not only going to teach them basketball, I'm going to teach them badminton, I'm going to teach them table tennis, boxing. I put everything there, even though my specialty was basketball. I created a logo, went onto Udemy, created a course, Facebook page, did everything, got all the modules, started marketing it. How many course sign-ups did I get? 0. Nothing for 6 months. All this effort, spent about 6 months recording videos, everything, all this effort, and I had 0 sign-ups. Did that deter me from quitting business and going back to my job? Absolutely not, because my next idea was Little Boomers Basketball. Fantastic. Look at where it is right now. But if I let that experience, that failed business venture of creating a multi-sport course, and you guys can Google there, it was a terrible logo. I had like an arrow with 10 different sports. It was a disaster. If I let those 0 sign-ups, if I let that affect me, I would not be where I am today. It actually fueled me to get into my second idea, which was Little Boomers Basketball. So just remember, you got to make rejection and failure your new best friend. Be okay with it, because for every 9 setbacks, you're going to hit 1 dinger out of the park. Next thing is, you got to understand, with business owners, financials are not the same. What do I mean by that? If you're an employee and you do 50 hours, whatever, and you get a $1,000 paycheck, you give $250 to the government for your tax, you're left with $700 in your paycheck. It's very linear. It's very easy to understand. Okay, I've got $750. Now I need to budget for this. Now I need to budget for that and budget for that. It's quite simple, the maths, right? Business isn't the same. You need to understand financials, gross profit margins, net profit margins, EBITDA, expenses, revenue, different line items of revenue. And this was all new to me when I go into the business world. And with a lot of our franchisees, a lot of this information is new to them. And you've got to understand these numbers, and they can be quite difficult. Like, for example, if you've got revenue and then you've got your cost of goods and services, how much it costs you to deliver, and then you're left with your gross profit margin, but that's not your net profit margin. You now need to calculate your expenses, and then after your expenses, you're left with your net profit margin. These are all foreign numbers to a lot of business owners, and the best business owners know their numbers inside out. So you need to be familiar. You need to understand what all these are. You've got to do research. You've got to upskill yourself, and you need to know your numbers. You need to know, okay, I need to achieve 60% gross profit margins for these classes, which means I need to be paying this, that. You've got to get used to all of that. It's not linear like a paycheck. Okay, next thing is, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to become best friends with Murphy. Who the heck is Murphy, Emile? Who is it? Are you setting me up with someone? Is this online dating? No. You need to be familiar with Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law states that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. That is what Murphy's Law is. And you need to get into the business, now that you're a business owner, you need to get into the business of anticipation. Don't be one of those people that are so optimistic that they don't look at all the worst case scenarios that happen. Murphy's Law states anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and you need to anticipate this. I'll give you a classic example that happened a couple of months ago. We're launching a new franchise with Loris and Justin, and we've trained 2 of their coaches, and we've spent money, 6 weeks, time and energy training 2 of their coaches. And 5 days before the grand opening of the franchise, the coach that we've trained up, calls up Justin and says, look, it's not for me. Thanks so much. I'm resigning. All the best. And now we're left with one coach for a grand opening launch happening. What do you think happened? Justin saw the message, got on the coach, like, oh man, I lost one of my coaches. What the heck's happened? That was Murphy's Law. We did not anticipate this coach who was committed to pull out 5 days before the grand opening launch. Now, you might be thinking, oh, geez, like we had a solution, we had something in place, and now they're thriving. They've got a really good team in Hornsby, and you know what? In my opinion, it was a blessing. This guy not coming to the party because we weren't too keen on him anyway. So that was an example of Murphy's Law coming into place. You need to get into the habit of Murphy's Law. And what I do every quarter, every 3 months, when I plan for the next 3 months, you might find this a little bit cynic, but what I do is for the next 3 months, I write down on a document the what if. Everything that can go wrong in the business or fires that can happen in the next 3 months, I list them out and then I put a solution in place. If they were to occur, what would happen? Now, do all of those happen? No, like 9 out of 10 of those don't happen. But what this allows me to do is it allows me to anticipate. It allows me not to get caught off guard. And when a situation does happen, which some of those things actually do happen, I'm not scrambling, caught off guard because I know, okay, I anticipated this was going to happen. This is what I'm going to do. So you need to get into the habit of anticipation. Do what I do. I call it the IT exercise. Everything that can go wrong in the next 3 months, and I plan what I would do. Okay, so next thing I want you to do, guys, is if you're going to move, mindset shift you need to make from an employee to business owner, I just don't see this happening more often. You got to get in the habit as a business owner of planning your day, planning your week, planning your month, planning your quarter, planning your year. You need to be obsessed about planning and structuring your business, because if you do not plan your business will run you. And I see a lot of business owners catching up on the day before. I got to catch up to my emails. I got to catch up to this. Oh, shoot, this event happened. I didn't know this was happening next week. I totally forgot. You don't want to be one of those business owners. You got to get into the habit of planning every single day, planning your week, planning your month, planning your quarter, and eventually planning your year. I do this all the time. I don't end any day until I've planned the next day. Otherwise, very quickly, you could be swamped in disaster. And next thing you know it, your business is dedicating your schedule. So you need to and you also need to plan your own personal life, guys. Like if you don't plan and spend a lot of time and get into the discipline of planning, your whole life can quickly go to shambles. And I know a lot of business owners who are drowning in responsibilities. People are telling them, I got to do this, I got to do this. Their personal life is suffering. They're not spending time with their families. They're not spending time with their significant others because the business is drowning them. And I make sure personally that when I plan my week ahead on Sunday, I plan the big events that matter to me, the rocks, I call them, my family events, my brothers' events, my any special events we have happening. I speak to my partner. I say to my partner, okay, when's our date night? When's our dinner night? We do a date night and dinner night. I make sure all of those get scheduled in a week in advance, because if I don't spend time scheduling those, my day-to-day will be everything business. Zoom, meeting, got to do this, got to do that. And the important stuff, guys, will suffer. So you have to get into the habit of planning. Now, if planning for a year sounds a little bit too much, start off small, baby steps. Plan the next day before the day ends. Just get into that routine of planning the next day before the day ends. Don't let the day end without the next one being planned. And then when you've got into that habit, then do the week. On Sunday, plan the week ahead. Once you've gotten in the habit of that, on the first Monday of the month, plan the next Monday ahead. Then once that's easy, plan the quarter. And then eventually you'll be able to plan the year. But guys, make sure you get in the habit of planning. It's one of the most important disciplines of a business owner. Hey, just quickly, if you're enjoying today's episode, it will mean the world to me if you can leave a positive review or share it with a friend that may benefit from this. I've also put some bonus resources in the description, including a real franchise case study that you can download under our Franchise Success Blueprint. Hope you find it useful. Enjoy the rest of the episode and rock on. Adios. Next thing I want you to do is you need to change your perspective. Things are going to happen in the business, Murphy's Law. Change your perspective from why did this happen to me to What could I have anticipated this to prevent it in the future? Again, it's a mental change. Don't be a victim business owner. And I see victim business owners all the time. And when we coach our franchisees, right, we coach to empower them. Whenever we hear victim language, why is this happening to me? Why did this venue pull out? Why is this coach being difficult? We got to, as a coach, we need to help them understand that everything is in your responsibility and power. It does no justice saying, why is this happening to me? It is probably one of the most debilitating, disempowering things you can say to yourself. So change your perspective from why is this happening to me versus what could I have done to anticipate and prevent this for a future? Because all of a sudden, you've turned a disaster into a learning lesson that you've just put onto your skills that you can learn from for next time. And that is a mental shift that you need to make. And I'll give you an example of something that happened to me personally 12 months ago. I got into the game of webinars where I wanted to hold webinars once a month for franchising, for people interested in franchising to jump onto the webinar. I created the webinar, done marketing ads, spent a lot of time. I had maybe about 50 something people sign up for the webinar. I started the Zoom, so excited and ready to go for my first webinar, and zero people showed up to the webinar. Imagine being on a Zoom and zero people showed up to the webinar. That could be how I felt. I closed off the webinar. Webinars don't work. What a disaster. What a waste of time and energy. What a waste. Webinars are a waste. I really got myself into that victimhood language. And then after about a day of mourning and, whinging, I said, no, you know what? Maybe webinars do work. Maybe I'm not doing something right. Maybe there's a skill that I don't have that if I learn can improve my success in webinars. I went back to the drawing board. Okay, with webinars, you have to give a special offer. You need to make sure you're following up. You have to have a reminder sequence. Make sure your webinar is engaging. Make sure after the webinar there's a follow. Learn all of this. Boom, my next webinar got 25 people attended. If I looked at that as a failure and gave up on it instantly, I wouldn't have that next learning lesson. But so always remember that you are in ultimate control of your destiny. Don't say, why did this happen to me? Instead, what can I learn and what can I do to prevent this from happening? Powerful change. You go from disempowered to empowered. Now, when you're changing guys from an employee to business owner, you can't be rigid. You need to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Business is synonymous for uncertainty. There's going to be times in business where you're uncertain. I don't know if this plan's going to work, but I have to go ahead and do it. There's going to be times where you're uncomfortable. There's going to be times where you're dealing with difficult situations that are uncomfortable. That's just a prerequisite of business. You need to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and you need to be comfortable being uncertain, okay? And you also have to be comfortable with revising your plan. A couple of moments ago, I mentioned the importance of creating a plan. Don't be rigid. In the game of business, things are moving so fast, so quick. Your plan must be revised weekly. Yes, you heard me, weekly. If you create a plan for the year or for the month or for the quarter, with how quick business is moving, you need to be able to pivot and revise that plan weekly. You can't be rigid and say, no, this is what I said I was going to do. This is what don't be naive. Look at the data and make sure that you're revising your plan, because business is moving so fast, but you need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. There's going to be times where you're not 100% certain of a decision. You're about 90% certain of the decision. You have to be okay executing that decision with full accountability, knowing that there's a 10% chance of failure. It's just how business is. And I'll give you an example with us. We're looking at implementing a new system, a membership subscription-based system. Now, we've realized the world is now heading in the direction of subscriptions. People don't want to go in and pay. They want things reoccurring, don't have to think. I get billed periodically at a set time and day. In the children industry, there's not many people that do subscription-based. It's the old school, got to jump back in the website, book in and enroll. We're moving away from that, and we're creating our rollover membership system that kind of goes into this direction. Is it hard? Yes. Is it difficult? Yes. Is it uncomfortable? Yes. Are we spending a lot of money learning this system? Yes, we are. But at the end of the day, this is a direction where the world is heading. I think there was a statistic, 70% of businesses are now subscription-based businesses. It's just a reality of where we're heading, and we're pivoting our business model into that direction. Next thing, guys, when you're moving from employee to business owner, mental shift, beware of the shiny object syndrome. What do I mean by the shiny object syndrome? As a business owner, there's a tendency now to have all these different things that you can focus on to improve your business. I can improve my customer service. I can do marketing here. I can get this cheaper. I can do this. I can do this strategy. You're not going to have a shortage of ideas. I guarantee you. You will not have a shortage of ideas. You are going to have an overabundance of ideas. But what I've noticed as business owners and with our franchisees is when we've said that, okay, we're going to go in this direction, there's a tendency for us to look at something else and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to go here. And then this pops up, you know what, I'm going to go here. It's the shiny object syndrome. Wherever the shiny object is where we direct our attention and move our efforts to. And you don't want to do that, because if you've said that you're going to go one way, you need to put all your time and attention on there. You can't just pivot to something else because it looks better, it looks sexier, it looks nicer, or maybe you haven't given the other one enough time, or maybe the current strategy, it just got a little bit tough, so you're ready to move boats. You need to stay on course with where you said. You got to give things a minimum time to work on and then move strategy, but then change or pivot. But I've noticed that a lot of business owners, we've got, what's it called? Entrepreneurial ADHD, I saw, where we focus on too many different things. And as a result, we do too many different things average. Focus on one, specialize on one, and go down one way. I'll give you a great example. We specialize in the grassroots level for our basketball program. Kids learning to play basketball with a little bit of skills and experience. I have done this for 6 years straight. Because of that, I am now the leaders of kids basketball for ages 3 to 12. Imagine in the early years, year 1 or year 2, I said, you know what? This primary school kid stuff, I want to move into the high school kid stuff. I want to do elite basketball training. I want to do competitions. I want to do high school kids. Imagine if I did that. I would be nowhere near where I am now, because I've diluted myself. I'm now focusing my time, energy, resources on something else. And remember, whenever you split attention across two, you get an average of two versus going all out on one. There's a reason why doctors and general practitioners get paid a certain wage. And when you go to a specialist, you're expected to pay 3 to 5 times of a GP because they specialize in industry. So I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't solely focus on the grassroots level. Finally, guys, when you get into the great game of business and you're an owner, you got to take care of up here. You got to take care of your mental game. And what I've noticed as a business owner, the best thing to do is to have a safe and strong soundboard. Somebody that you can confide to, somebody that you can talk about the problems. If you've had a really big day, in the workplace, or you've had a big day, or an employee's left you, or you've had something, you need to have that close person, a soundboard where you can talk to, because sometimes just talking about the problem, even if you don't come up with the solution, actually solves the problem and makes you feel a lot better up here. I know for myself, I've got some soundboards. I've got a close cousin. I've got my lovely mother. I've got my partner, Kimberly. I've got some close soundboards where if I've had a big day, I talk about it or I bounce it back to the other person. It's a soundboard and it makes me feel better up here mentally. You need to make sure that you have a safe and strong soundboard. Be careful who you choose to confide with your matters. Make sure they're trustworthy. Make sure they're someone that you've spent a lot of time with. Don't just do it to your friend, because not everybody has your best interests in mind. Have a strong and safe soundboard for when you've had big days to talk to bounce off. So team, that brings us to the end of our episode of the transition that you need to make from an employee to a business owner. I want to highlight a couple of key moments. Firstly, remember, business is 80% mental and psychology, 20% strategy. Fix up here to come up with a better strategy. Make rejection and failure your best friend. Financials are not the same. You've got to learn the financials of your business. Become best friends with Murphy's Law. Get into the business of anticipation. Get in the habit of planning your personal life and your business life. Start daily, move to weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. Change your perspective from why did this happen to me to what could I have done to prevent this and what did I learn from this. All of a sudden, a setback is now a learning lesson. Don't be rigid. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And if you come up with a plan, get ready to revise it weekly. Beware of the shiny object syndrome. Have a strong and safe soundboard to confide with. Thank you guys for watching today's episode. If you like it, drop a comment. Let me know. If you hated it, also drop a comment. I'll see you in the next episode.